Hi, Kimberley here from Feed Central, here to talk to you today about how to take the best representative sample from your hay harvest. It's important to take a representative sample because you want a feed analysis that represents your whole paddock. So the best way to get a representative sample is to use a hay corer. For a round bale, we want to core through the side of the bale, making sure that we get that cross section. You don't want to approach it from the front and get just one layer. Similarly, for a square bale, you want to go in through the small butt end of the bale, going through multiple layers. Alternatively, if you don't have access to a corer, you can use the grab method of sampling, whereby you expose the interior of the bale and grab a handful of product from each selected bale. You don't want to get a sample from the weathered exterior, as that's not representative of your true product. So ideally, when taking samples, we'd recommend that you take a sample from 10% or more of the number of bales that you've got. Ideally, for a core sample, you're looking about half a bag's worth of sample, ranging anywhere from 200 grams to 500 grams maximum. Or for a grab sample, you're looking at filling a bag, again, about 500 gram maximum sample size. If your representative sample quantity is too large, like this, it won't fit into a Ziploc bag. We recommend creating a subsample. You can find that information on our website or watching our subsampling video. When sampling wrapped silage, it's very similar to the sampling method for hay. We core through the side of the bale, ensuring that we get a good cross-section of sample. Once you've finished taking your samples, make sure that you reseal any punctures to preserve your silage. When taking a sample of silage from a pit or bunker, you can also use a corer going from the top or the face of the pit. Again, resealing any punctures you make in the silage wrap. If you don't have access to a corer, you may also use the grab sample method, ideally grabbing a fresh sample from the inside of the lot. So the most important thing when packing your sample is to maintain an oxygen-free environment. Ideally, if you have access, use a vacuum sealer, or alternatively, you can use a Ziploc bag, excluding as much air as possible. It's important to get the sample to Feed Central as soon as possible to prevent sample degradation. As with any sampling, it's best to take a representative sample from across the whole of the crop. If there are drastic variances within your crop, it is best to submit these as separate samples. So the best way to take a representative sample from your standing crop is to walk throughout the paddock and select 10 or more random locations and cut the plants at grazing height. As there are multiple ways to store these products, you have many different options when taking a sample. To take a sample from a silo, best way to do that is through a running sample. So as your sample is coming out, take a few handfuls randomly, aiming for a total sample size of about 1 kilo. To take a sample from a trailer, we recommend that you use a grain probe, probing deep into the load from the front to the rear of the trailer, taking about 5 samples throughout each load. To get a representative sample from a bagged product, again we use a grain probe, probing from the top corner diagonally down to the bottom corner. When sampling your product, you may end up with more sample than the recommended sample size. When this occurs, we recommend that you take a representative subsample of the product. Today we're taking a subsample of silage, but this process can be used for any commodity type, be it hay, grain, etc. To do this, we firstly thoroughly mix the sample in a clean container. The second step is to separate the sample into 4 equal quadrants. We then dispose of 2 opposing quadrants until we're left with that size sample. If halving a sample size has reached the recommended submission quantity, that's great and we'll submit that size. If not, we will continue to reduce by repeating the process. The easiest way to get your sample submitted to Feed Central is to order one of our free sample submission kits. These include sample collection bags, submission forms, tips on how to take a representative sample, and reply paid post bags. For information on how to take a representative sample for your commodity type, jump onto our website or give us a call.